to speak out because
that's
it's the only only religion that acts like the mafia that will kill you if you say the wrong thing, draw the wrong picture, or write the wrong book.
So you do.
In that memorable video clip from 2014, Bill Maher was referring to Islam's blasphemy laws, which ban, often on pain of death, any insult to Islam, and especially its prophet Muhammad. Little did Maher know, but the similarities between Islam and the Mafia far exceed punishing those who say, draw, or write the wrong thing. And in this video, we will look at 10 such similarities. 1. Allah and Muhammad as godfather and underboss, the padrino of larger Mafia organizations and families, literally, the godfather or boss of bosses, has absolute control over his subordinates and is often greatly feared by the rest of the family for his ruthlessness. But he typically has an underboss, a right-hand man who issues his orders and enforces his will. The godfather himself is often inaccessible and rarely seen. Mafia members need to go through the underboss or other high-ranking associates. Now compare this with the relationship between Allah and his messenger, Muhammad. In Arabic, by the way, Muhammad is most commonly referred to as al-Rasul, the messenger, not Nabi, prophet. Unlike the Christian God, a personal God, a father, that according to Christ is to be communed with directly, see Matthew 6:9, Islam's God, Allah, is unreachable, unknowable, untouchable. Like the Godfather, he is inaccessible. His orders are revealed by his messenger Muhammad. If God calls on the faithful to come now, let us reason together, see Isaiah 1 verse 18, Allah says, do not ask questions about things that, if made known to you, would only pain you. See Quran 5 verse 101. Just follow orders. 2. A piece of the action. The Godfather and his underboss always get a piece of the action, a cut of all spoils acquired by their subordinates. So do Allah and his messenger Muhammad. Quran Surah Al-Anfal, verse 41 informs Muslims that 1/5 of all war booty you acquire goes to Allah and the messenger.
Why does he always get the prettiest one?
3. Assassinations. The Godfather, through his underboss, regularly sends mafia men to make hits, to assassinate those he deems enemies. So did Allah and his messenger. One example, a Jewish poet, Ka'b ibn Ashraf, once insulted Muhammad, prompting the latter to exclaim,
"Who is willing to kill Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf, who has hurt Allah and his apostle?"
"Oh, Rasulullah, would you like me to kill him?"
Yes.
"In order to kill Ka'b, I have to lie. Is it okay to lie to please Allah?"
"Say what you like. You are absolved in that matter."
Ibn Maslama traveled to Ka'b and began to denigrate Islam and Muhammad until his disaffection became so convincing that the poet took him into his confidence. Soon thereafter, Ibn Maslama appeared with another crypto-Muslim, and, while Ka'b's guard was down, they slaughtered the poet, bringing his head to Muhammad to the usual triumphant cries of Allahu Akbar. 4. Circumstance is everything. While the Mafia adheres to a general code of conduct, as with all human institutions, its leader, the Godfather, issues more fluid orders according to shifting circumstances. This is reminiscent of the entire revelation of the Quran, where later verses or commands contradict earlier verses or commands, depending on circumstances, known in Islamic jurisprudence as al-Nasikh wal-Mansukh, or the doctrine of abrogation.
The Quran itself talks about this in the following verses. Quran Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 106. Allah does not abrogate any verse, but substitutes something similar or better. Quran Surah Ar-Ra'd, verse 39. Allah eliminates and confirms what He wills. Quran Surah An-Nahl, verse 101. Allah substitutes one revelation with another, and He knows best. When Muslims are weak, Allah told the Prophet these verses. Quran Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 256. There is no compulsion in religion. Quran Surah Al-Muzammil, verse 10. 11. Be patient and bear with those who deny the truth. Quran Surah Sad, verse 16 to 17. Be patient with the evildoers. Quran Surah Taha, verse 130. Show patience to the pagans. Quran Surah Maryam, verse 83-84. Don't be in a haste to fight the disbelievers. But once the messenger grew strong enough, Allah issued new revelations calling for all-out war or jihad till Islam became supreme. Quran Surah Al-Anfal verse 39. Fight them until all religion is for Allah. Quran Surah At-Tawbah verse 5. Fight and slay the pagans wherever you find them. Quran Surah At-Tawbah verse 29. Fight the Christians and the Jews until they pay jizya willingly, fully humbled. Quran Surah Ali Imran verse 85. Any religion other than Islam is not acceptable. Quran Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 33. Execute, crucify, torture those who opposes Muhammad.
While other religions and scriptures may have contradictions, only Islam rationalizes them through abrogation, that is, by giving prominence to later verses which are seen as the latest decision of the deity, the latest decision of the Godfather. 5. Clan loyalty. Loyalty is of paramount importance to the Mafia. Following elaborate rituals of blood oaths, Mafia members are expected to maintain absolute loyalty to the family on pain of death. Mafia members are expected to always be available for the family, even if your wife is about to give birth, as one of the Mafia's 10 commandments puts it, and to defend the Godfather and his honor, even if it costs their lives. Compare this to the widespread violence and upheavals that occur whenever Allah or His Prophet is offended, whenever non-Muslim infidels blaspheme the Muslim Godfather and his underboss. Or, in the words of Bill Maher,
because it's the only religion that acts like the Mafia, that will kill you if you say the wrong thing, draw the wrong picture, or write the wrong book.
Islam's loyalty and enmity doctrine, or al-wala wal-bara, which calls on Muslims to be loyal to one another even if they dislike each other, is especially illustrative. Quran Surah At-Tawbah verse 71 declares that the believing Muslim men and believing Muslim women are allies of one another. See also Surah Al-Anfal verse 72 to 75. And according to Muhammad, a Muslim is the brother of a Muslim. All things of a Muslim are inviolable for his brother in faith, his blood, his wealth, and his honor. Precisely those three things that Mafia members respect among each other. This is why Muslims in the U.S. Armed Forces habitually lash out when being deployed to fight in Muslim nations, such as U.S. Army Major Nidal Hasan, remember him? In 2009, he killed 13 American soldiers rather than deploy to and fight Muslims in Afghanistan, which he described as his worst nightmare. There have been other American military men to engage in such behavior since. 6. Death to traitors. Once a fledgling Mafia member takes the oath of loyalty to the Mafia, including the Omerta code of silence and secrecy, trying to leave the family is seen as a betrayal punishable by death. Any family member, great or small, is given authority to kill the traitor, the turncoat. Now compare this to Islam. To be born to a Muslim father immediately makes the newborn a Muslim. There are no oaths to be taken, much less any choice in the matter. And according to Islamic law, if born Muslims at any point in their lives choose to leave Islam, they are deemed apostates, traitors, and punished, including by death. Any zealous Muslim, not just the authorities, is justified in killing the apostate, hence why Muslim families that kill apostate children are rarely, if ever, prosecuted in the Muslim world. In the words of Muhammad, the messenger, or underboss of Allah, the Godfather,
whoever leaves his Islamic faith, unalive him.
7. Distrust and dislike of outsiders. Aside from loyalty to the family, Mafia members are strongly discouraged from befriending or freely associating with outsiders who by nature are not to be trusted, as they are not of the family, except in those situations when such outside friendships help advance the family's position. Similarly, the second half of the aforementioned doctrine of loyalty and enmity, the enmity, al-bara, calls on Muslims to maintain distance from and bear enmity for all non-Muslims, infidels. Thus, Quran Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 51 warns Muslims against taking the Jews and Christians as friends and allies. Whoever among you takes them for friends and allies, he is surely one of them. According to the mainstream Islamic exegesis of Al-Tabari, Surah Al-Ma'idah, 51 means that the Muslim who allies with them, non-Muslims, and enables them against the believers, that same one is a member of their faith and community, that is, a defector, an apostate, in a word, an enemy. There are many more such verses. Quran Surah An-Nisa, verse 144 declares, "O you who believe, do not take the infidels as allies instead of the believers. Do you wish to give Allah, the Godfather, a clear case against yourselves?" 8. Deception and dissimulation. As mentioned, close relations to non-mafia individuals that prove advantageous to the family, for example, collaboration with a crooked cop, are permissible, as long as the mafia keeps a safe distance, keeps the outsider at arm's length. Compare this to Quran 3:28. It tells, quote, "Believers not to take infidels for friends and allies instead of believers, unless you but guard yourselves against them, taking precautions." According to the standard Quran commentary of Tabari, taking precautions means if you Muslims are under their, non-Muslims' authority, fearing for yourselves, behave loyally to them with your tongue while harboring inner animosity for them, but know that Allah has forbidden believers from being friendly or on intimate terms with the infidels rather than other believers, except when infidels are above them in authority. Should that be the case, let them act friendly towards them while preserving their religion. After interpreting Quran 3:28 as meaning that Muslims may protect themselves through outward show when under non-Muslim authority, Ibn Kathir, one of Islam's most celebrated exegetes, quotes Muhammad's close companion, as recorded in a Sahih Bukhari hadith, saying, "Truly, we smile to the faces of some people while our hearts curse them." This sort of reminds me of this one scene from, I believe, the movie Casino, where a mob member makes and spits in a sandwich for some cop that he has some shady business with. The idea of hating outsiders is apparently so ingrained in Islam that one leading Salafi cleric, Dr. Yasser al-Burhami, insists that while Muslim men may marry Christian and Jewish women, they must hate them in their heart and show them that they hate them in the hopes that they convert to the family of Islam. This is what he said.
احتج شيخ على حب أهل الكتاب بجواز الزواج من الكتابيات. كيف يتزوجها وهو يكرهها؟ ايه المانع يعني؟ كل الناس بتحب زوجاتهم. كم من الناس بينهم خلافات وعايشين. ومع ذلك فهو قد يحب شكلها أو يحب تربيتها للأولاد أو يحب أن عندها مال، ولذلك يكره أن يتزوج الكتابية لأنها ليست ذات دين، وهو مأمور بأن يبغضها على دينها مع بقائه في معاشرتها، وهذا أمر معتاد جدا. أو أقول لك كل من يغتصب امرأة بيحبها ولا يعاشرها فقط؟ يعاشرها من أجل جسدها فقط ولا يحبها في الحقيقة، ومع ذلك لأنه لو كان كذلك لما آذاها، ومع ذلك فيمكن وجود المعاشرة الجنسية دون حب، فهذا ممكن ومأمور هو كما ذكرنا بأن يبغضها. فتترك النصوص القاطعة. لا تجد قوما يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر يوادون من حاد الله ورسوله ولو كانوا آباءهم أو أبناءهم أو إخوانهم أو عشيرتهم أولئك كتب في قلوبهم الإيمان وأيدهم بروح منه. تتركه تعمل فيه إيه؟ ماذا تصنع؟ الموالاة أصلها المودة والحب عند كل أهل اللغة، والله يقول ومن يتولهم منكم فإنه منهم. تعمل فيها إيه؟ لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء. تعمل فيها إيه؟ ماذا تصنع في هذه النصوص؟ يقول لها أنه يبغض دينها بلا شك، لابد أن يبين لها أنه يبغضها على دينها ويبغضها من أجل أنها كافرة، وإن كان يحسن عشرتها حتى يكون ذلك سبيلا لإسلامها ويعرض عليها الدين ويدعوها إلى الله عز وجل. أهو ده بقى الذي يقطع الدين، يترك الذي لا يعجبه ويمسك بشيء لا يدل في الحقيقة، لأن ربنا أجاز نكاحهن فقط ولم يجز محبتهن على أديانهن أو رغم كفرهن. فإيه المانع؟ كما ذكرنا ليست كل البيوت بنيت على الحب. لو كان الأمر كذلك لما استمرت الحياة الزوجية بين أكثر أهل الأرض. نعم. ولا تنكحوا.
9. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. Although the novel-turned-movie, The Godfather, is fictitious, it definitely captures much of the mafia's modus operandi. Consider, for example, that most famous of lines. The Godfather says this to one of his godsons, an aspiring actor and singer. After being turned down by a studio director for a role that he desperately wanted, the godson had turned to his godfather for aid. As the movie progresses, it becomes clear that the offer that can't be refused consists of nothing less than violence and death threats. After the director rejects the godfather's offer, he awakens the next morning to find the bloodied and decapitated head of his favorite stallion in bed with him. The godson subsequently gets the movie role. Throughout the context of the entire Godfather trilogy, which captures well the mafia's approach to business, making someone an offer they can't refuse means do as I say or suffer the consequences, possibly death. Now compare this to Islam's threefold choice. On Muhammad's orders, whenever Muslims conquer a territory in the name of Islam, its non-Muslim inhabitants are given three choices. 1. Convert to Islam, join the family. 2. Keep your religious identity, but pay jizya and live as an outsider. Or 3. War to the death. Throughout history, converting to Islam has been an offer that countless non-Muslims could not refuse. In fact, this offer is responsible for transforming much of the Middle East and North Africa, which was Christian majority in the 7th century when the jihad burst forth from Arabia into what is today called the Muslim world. And this offer is still alive and well today. For example, several older and disabled Christians who were not able to join the exodus out of Islamic State controlled territories opted to convert to Islam rather than die. Like the mafia then, Islam's offer to conquered non-Muslims outsiders is basically join our family, help us and we will help you, refuse and we will hurt you. 10. The protection racket. Once the mafia takes over a territory, one of the primary ways it profits is by collecting protection money from its inhabitants. While the protection racket has several aspects, one in particular is very akin to an Islamic practice, coercing people in the mafia's territory to pay money for protection, ostensibly against outside elements. In fact, the protection bought is usually from the mafia itself, that is, extortion money, or pizzo. Potential clients who refuse to pay for the mafia's protection often have their property vandalized and are routinely threatened and harassed. Now compare the collection of pizzo with the Islamic concept of jizya. The word jizya appears in Quran 9:29. Fight those among the people of the book, the Christians and Jews, who do not believe in Allah nor the last day, nor forbid what Allah and His Messenger have forbidden, nor embrace the religion of truth, until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. In the Hadith, the Messenger of Allah, Muhammad, in our analogy, the underboss, regularly calls on Muslims to demand jizya from non-Muslims. If they refuse to accept Islam, said the Prophet, demand from them the jizya. If they agree to pay, accept it from them and hold off your hands. If they refuse to pay jizya, seek Allah's help and fight them. Topping it all off, just as the mafia rationalizes its collection of protection money by portraying it as money that buys mafia protection against outsiders, when, in fact, the money tribute mostly serves to protect the client from the mafia itself, so too do Islam's apologists portray the collection of jizya as money meant to buy Muslim protection against outsiders, when in fact the money jizya buys protection from Muslims themselves. So there you have it, 10 similarities between Islam and the mafia. But what makes them so similar in the first place? One clue is found in the fact that the very word mafia, which means hostility to the law, boldness, is derived from an Arabic word, mahya, which in translation means bragging, boasting, bravado, and swaggering. This etymology is a reminder that Sicily, birthplace of the mafia, was under Arab Islamic domination for over 200 years. Aside from a borrowed etymology, could some of the mafia's modus operandi also have been borrowed from Islam? Isolated on their island, Could native Sicilians have co-opted the techniques of social control and exploitation that they had lived under and learned from their former overlords, albeit without the Islamic veneer? Incidentally, the Mafia is hardly the only historical example of a non-Muslim criminal organization to be influenced by Islam. For example, the Thuggees, whence we get the word thug, were a brotherhood of allied bandits and assassins who waylaid and savagely murdered travelers in India, often by first feigning friendship. Although they were associated with the Hindu cult of Kali as late as the 19th century, a large number of Thuggees captured and convicted by the British were Muslim. The thuggish similarities are clear, along with assassinating his opponents, including, as seen, through treachery. Muhammad also personally engaged in banditry, ransacking the caravans of enemy tribes. And if the words mafia and thug have Arabic Islamic etymologies or associations, the words assassinate and assassin are, of course, derived straight from a medieval Islamic sect, the Hashashin, who pioneered the use of political assassination, with promises of a decidedly Islamic, that is, hedonistic paradise for the assassin who almost certainly died. So there you have it. Now you know that when people claim that Islam is the only religion that acts like the mafia, that will FN kill you if you say the wrong thing, draw the wrong picture, or write the wrong book, they are barely touching on the similarities between the mafia and other criminal organizations on the one hand, and Islam on the other.